welcome to this episode of Creativity for Success. On the show, I have Tyler. You saw Tyler an episode or ago, and welcome to the show, Tyler.
Yeah, great to be back.
Yes. So I had the absolute pleasure of going to see Tyler's band perform your first gig. Is that right?
First gig of the year. It's our second gig
Your
overall.
second overall gig and first gig of the year. In a local brewery, and they were amazing. They were absolutely fantastic. The waitress, she saw me, trying to grab some videos of it, which I will share with you. But she's like, "Aren't they good?" She kept saying that. "Aren't they good?" I'm like, "Yes, they are. Yes, they are." So, yeah. So, Tyler, can you tell us a little bit about your band, how you guys got together? Because it's really a unique blend of talent. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to. I have been in bands for about as long as I've been playing instruments. It just kind of seemed like the path for me was to be in bands and to collaborate and perform and get out in front of people. And since I was 13 or 14, that's what I've been doing, and it's always fun. You never really know what's going to come out at a live performance. So they're definitely really special, kind of magical moments, no matter where they're at, even if it's for just the bartenders, or if it's you've got 50, 100, 200 people. It's always fun and interesting. Um, this band that I'm in currently is kind of my newest band, and we formed officially just a couple months ago. We had our first official show was up in Cleveland at the Beachland Ballroom in October. My mandolin player is originally from Boone, North Carolina, and after the hurricanes had come through, my first reaction was to reach out to him and ask how his friends and family were doing. And luckily in Boone they were all okay enough, dealing with just power outages and things like that instead of, seeing their whole town washed away. And our first thought was let's do a benefit. So we pulled together about 6 local bluegrass and acoustic bands to do this kind of night benefit for Western North Carolina. And we had been playing together uh, mostly in support of me. I've been doing solo performances for the past 2 years, and I met Forrest, my mandolin player, at a local jam here in Northeast Ohio. We have a monthly bluegrass jam where people just come hang out, play music together, and um, we met after he moved up here, and we just connected really quickly. That night we were playing a bunch, and before he left, he came back, was like, "Hey, I got to get your number," and that was kind of history with us meeting and starting to work together. The bass player in our band, his name's Perry. I met him. He actually did sound for me for one of my performances at a local festival. And we got to talking. He talked about how much he loves acoustic music, roots music, and talked about how great my guitar sounded. And was like, if you ever need a bass player, let me know. And we ended up needing a bass player, and so the band formed. And right now we have a small smattering of original tunes, but play a lot of traditional bluegrass and old time music, as well as some jazz manouche and new acoustic music, which is really fun. Some swing tunes, Django Reinhardt and Stefan Grappelli from over across the pond in France. And we got this really great opportunity. Met a local fiddle player at one of the jams in December. His name's Ed Kaner, and he's been playing fiddle around Northeast Ohio and the United States for 20, 30 years, probably more than that. And asked us if we wanted to join him. He has this monthly standing kind of gig that he does at this brewery in Kent, and wanted us to come hang and do it with him. And we had an absolute blast. So we've got a couple more shows with him this year that are getting lined up, and uh, trying to do some more of our own shows as well, and plan on heading into the studio in the spring to work on recording those originals and get them out for folks.
So how many songs do you have? How many original songs?
Right now, we've got about three, um, with another four or five kind of in the kitchen, I guess,
That's awesome.
letting them cook a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it should be hopefully a full record of all originals, maybe one or two traditional tunes, fiddle tunes that we really like to do, and yeah, we're really excited about it.
So it's four-string instruments. Is there any room for any other instruments, or is that it?
Really, the core is three.
Oh, okay.
It's guitar, mandolin, and bass.
Okay.
We loved playing with Ed because adding a fiddle on top of that just is such a great instrument. I could also see, us playing with a banjo player in the future, even two mandolin players. In bluegrass and traditional acoustic music, guitar and bass are really the rhythm section, um, and then everything around that is kind of extra.
Yeah.
Even though our mandolin player is basically like a drummer,
Yeah.
uh, so it definitely gives us opportunities to. I even pitched an idea recently of having a saxophone player join us and see what happens. So it could be fun.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to hear that. So, my passion project is this. My passion project is just opening up the world of creativity for everybody, no matter what that looks like. And, I just went, from what I heard from your music was, it just really defined this is the joy zone. And that's what I wrote a little note and put on your desk because everything was up, everything you guys played, everything you did was so uplifting. It was toe tapping, thigh slapping, just really joyful, joy filled music. And it just elevates the soul. And it just is so, it was so beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Um, are there sad songs or is it all happy?
Yeah, it's funny. Even the sad songs sound happy. One of my favorite songs that we do is it's actually an old, uh, I guess you could call it a Carter family song. But being a Carter family song really means that it was probably an old folk song before that, written in the 1800s or something. And then the Carter family found it and said, we got to record this to help bring it into the new century. One of my favorites is it's called "Darling Little Joe" or "Little Joe," and it's really upbeat, all happy major chords. It's fast, but it basically tells the story of a little boy and what happens to all of his things and people he loves after he dies. If I die, what do my dogs do? What do my cats do? What do the birds outside the house do? What does my mom do? And that's a song that at this point is probably 200 years old, but still, retains a lot of, I think, what people fear in life and death. But at the end, kind of gives a little bit of everything's going to be okay. We'll meet after all this is done. Um, so there's, yeah, a lot of stuff that can come through, even when it's upbeat and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Uh, it's all about life.
So, yeah, my husband came with me to your show, and I have since, since you started, you said right after you started, I asked for like an intro to the type of music. And you said, listen to Nickel Creek by Nickel Creek. And so we've been playing that at home, but we've been playing it really loud. So, and when it's really loud, you hear all the individual instruments. It's not just like that one dominant, mandolin or voice or and it just is it's absolutely incredible. And what I found was it just really elevates the vibration in the entire house. Like the entire house is like lifted up. And so before we have anybody over, like before Christmas, like, usually we do Christmas songs in the morning, but everything is like kind of somber and I'm like, I told the kids, I'm like, I'm going to play this first. And it's just the first, first song on the album. And then it just lifts the house up, and then everybody's in this, like, it just opens you up, and they're in this really open, ready to engage space, instead of coming in with all the stuff that you come in that when you're busy around the holidays just to be fully open and fully present. And it was magnificent. And they said, Mom, this is not our type of music, but you could experience the change, the transformation in them. So anyway, my husband's like usually open to all the crazy things I want to do. So I got in his car the other day and I saw it in one of his Spotify playlists. Like, and so he's been listening to it in the car too. So
Nice.
he was because this isn't our music, it's not, we're like alternative, he was an old Led Zeppelin fan, that's the music we listen
Sure.
to. And we like modern alternative. We like everything, that's new and fresh. And that's so this is not for us, but it is for us now. And it was so nice to have that like as the gateway, listen to Nickelcrete as the gateway to really like expanding your mind and expanding this idea of really joy filled, uplifting music. And I think it's great for creativity. I mean, I'd love to just crank it in the office, although we have a shared office, so with a real estate agent, I don't know how much they'd appreciate it. But when they're not there, I would love to crank it in the office and see what it does for the creativity in the office. And your song too, the one that you played is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So just crank that and just get everybody open. So thank you for sharing because my husband really, really, really enjoyed your performance. And especially because he'd heard that first, he was really open to this now. And he's, really like starting to dig bluegrass music, which is never thought that would happen. So
Hey, I'm doing my job
you're
then.
doing your job. And he's a big bourbon fan. So it all seems to go together. And,
Oh, absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's switch over to work. So you just wrote this fabulous article about SEO trends. Do you want to tell us like what you're seeing in the search engine optimization world that we're trying to take advantage of here at Advan?
Yeah, I think that um, really my goal with writing this article was not necessarily to inform all of our clients about everything that's constantly changing and everything that's new, because they have enough to worry about, but more to show them that we care about what's constantly changing, what's new, what affects us, how that affects them, and really understanding that they have a partner that's invested in their future. Um, and for me, it was really understanding kind of on a micro level what's happening, because the digital space is huge, but it's also tiny in comparison to everyone else's world, right? We're in it every single day. We see how people interact with websites, what changes are updated, how people change their brands, their voices, things like that. Um, but I think the big goal for me was to understand at a large scale, how is the web changing for our clients' users, and how can we really understand that at a level that maybe we don't understand the ins and outs of every product that our client sells, but we do understand the ins and outs of their user journey and what it takes for their users to find the information that they're looking for, to feel confident in their choices, and really just feel comfortable knowing that the path that they're on is the right path. Not They don't have to second guess it. So that was really my big goal, to dive into trends that I'm seeing and that I've seen industry colleagues talk about, so that our clients and future clients can really trust that we're investing the time and energy into more than just the silo of their brand, um, but what the entire industry is doing, on a macro level.
Yeah. So you open with AI, and how is AI impacting our business and our clients' businesses?
AI is still, I think it's being used more than people admit that it's being used. But I still think it's very much in its earliest phase. Um, People don't really know what to use it for. And I think that that's the big key for us, is how do we one, start to define the role of AI for our own needs and for our own clients' needs. And in me being a musician and being an artist, that's the last thing I want to use AI for
Right?
is creativity. So I think right now we're kind of in a phase of how do we use AI to do the work that maybe is tedious for us to do or that we just don't want to do. How do we automate workflows? How do we automate processes? Um, and half of that is, can the AI that we're using, whatever platform, accomplish those things? And the other half of it is, what are we even trying to get it to accomplish?
Yeah.
Uh, so I think that there's a little bit of um, what's the word? Really uncertainty with how search is going to work in the future. We noticed that Google's market share dropped under 90% for the first time in over 10 years.
Hmm.
Uh,
And
it only dropped to 89.85%,
yeah.
but that's still a massive, massive change from what it's been. And a big part of that is search agents in chat, Chat GPT and Claude, and people using AI like a search. Um, and for us to understand really what the future of that looks like, I think comes back down to understanding users and understanding their journey. And if we can make our clients have the best user journey on their website as possible, then it doesn't really matter what the search engines do, because at the end of the day, we're making it work for their clients and for their customers, not the robots.
Yeah, we've seen this year a big impact by Google getting it wrong. You know, we had, well, our clients, but we have this ramp manufacturer, and they manufacture these really big ramps to take, a heavy forklift load with on a forklift from the ground up to a semi truck. And Google's got it wrong. Like all the ramps that it makes it e-commerce, and these are way out of the price of anybody would buy with a credit card. And two, the ramps that they're showing for this application are so unsafe. They're not designed for that. If you put a forklift on this, you're going to get someone injured. And you know, how do you tell Google this isn't good, this isn't safe? Because what we found was the buyers don't know what they're buying, so they're searching for us. They're seeing this really inexpensive solution that would never work for what they want to use it for, or it might work, but it's going to be really unsafe. And so I don't know how to get around that. It's been a tough year for that one client because they lost their rankings to things that aren't that, they aren't even their competitors, so it's not even
Right.
competitive products. So it's been a tough year for some people, but then other people have totally thrived with it. And
Well, I think
yeah.
what's really interesting is, I've felt this way. I know a lot of people have felt this way of, when I Google something on my phone, I'm looking for a new piece of equipment for the studio, or, I need a new pack of strings, or whatever the case may be. It's ridiculous. It's hard to find the stuff that I am specifically looking for. It's convoluted. It's cluttered. It's messy. The experience, and I get, Google is trying to constantly refine its experience online to make it the most easy to use and understandable platform. But I think that's a lot of what they're getting wrong right now, is people aren't enjoying it. Any people, whether it's, I'm an electrical manufacturing engineer that needs to buy this product for this new service I'm offering, and I get all these pages that have nothing to do with what I'm trying to find, or they do, and I can't buy anything. There's a lot that needs to be worked out on Google's side, which, from an SEO perspective, we can't change. We can't say, Google, do it like this,
Yeah.
show it
Yeah.
this way. So we then have to kind of lean back on, we need to create the best experience for your customers. regardless of what Google thinks, and then let the chips fall.
Yeah. But I mean, I'd say that that's just one example. The majority of the
Mhm.
examples are Google's loving e-commerce. It loves the fact that everybody's showing their prices and people get all the choices right in front of them. So we've seen that work really, really well for tons of our clients. Majority of our clients have had a very successful year. It's just those instances where you're like, Google, you really are getting this wrong and it's dangerous. The way you're doing it is dangerous. This is a note from our sponsor, me. And this is coming from one of our amazing clients, Treetops. And if you're looking to plan the ultimate family vacation, Northern Michigan is definitely where you should go. Treetops can be your base camp. It's just an amazing resort where nature meets adventure. And whether it's summer or winter with extreme tubing and dog sledding, or in summer, you can go to the Sky Bridge, Mackinac Island, Sleeping Bear Dunes, every outdoor activity that you can imagine. Go to treetops.com. And this is where you're going to plan this incredible vacation and memory for your families. And get super creative too. Okay, so my last thing is, if let's circle back to the music, but kind of put some marketing in there. If you're a young musician, you've got your band, you want to start promoting yourself, you want to start getting gigs, you want to get yourself out there, how does a new band or new young musicians, how do they start marketing themselves?
For bands, you know, really, I think the big thing is understanding your scene, um, and kind of what your goals are. I I love Northeast Ohio. I'm from here. I've played music in bars and clubs and venues in Cleveland, Akron, Columbus, Youngstown, all over the place. And these are my people. Um, so for me, it's very important to be invested in the scene, knowing friends, having friends that are in bands, making connections, going to see people that I like, that are local, and having conversations with them. A lot of the gigs I've been getting, luckily, have just come from connections I've made, and in one way, letting the music kind of speak for itself. And then I think there's the kind of complete other side of this, where I know a lot of fairly successful musicians that no one knows them in their hometown. They couldn't get a gig if they wanted, but they could fly to San Diego and play a club for 500 people, and all these kinds of things. So it's really understanding your scene. And with the internet now, there's so many online communities that you can be a part of. So I think a big part of that too is just being authentic. No one wants someone to come in and say, "Look how good I am. Look how much better I am than everyone else." It's really about, how can I support the scene that exists and be part of that? Um, how do I lift up other bands and other musicians? That's one of the things I love to do. Is every couple of months I try and book like a headlining show where I'm or my band is the headliner, and we bring in two or three locals that we love, and that way people that know us can meet them, people that know them meet us, and we just kind of build that scene. And I think, especially in certain demographics here in Cleveland and Akron, I was in a couple punk bands before, and I could play a show on a Thursday and get 200 people to come, because the punk scene was very caring, and people really supported each other. And the acoustic scene is, I think, still growing here. We're not as entrenched like North Carolina or West Virginia or Kentucky in traditional music, even though there's a lot of history here for it. So I think that's part of it too for me. Is I've just been trying to spearhead as much as I can, and people that don't know about bluegrass or acoustic music, I want them to find out. I want to play in places that don't typically have those types of acts, and show people like this other world exists with a deep, rich history and, big soul that you can kind of get hooked on pretty immediately.
Yeah, I have the same vision. I want everybody to come here to see us. I want to create everything here so amazing that we become like the next Nashville, the next Chicago, the next people just want to come here because of creatively what's happening here. The music, everything, comedy, every form of creativity can be found here. And we're like this creative revolution, this epicenter of it right here. Because I don't want to travel. I want to be here with my kids. And I know you've got a family here. And, the worst part of, I think, being in a band is having to go everywhere. And then it takes all the wealth away from the city that they really, their roots are. The wealth goes to those other big cities. But if we can create it where everybody comes here to see you, and then we build a whole infrastructure around supporting it, hotels and restaurants, and just a really cool scene. That's kind of my vision for this area of the country. I think it'd be so cool and expose people to bluegrass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I think it's like, the big part for me is, yeah, it's really cold in the winter, and we don't have Chicago or New York or big crazy scenes, but it's just like anywhere else in the Midwest that I've gone to. The people here are salt of the earth, and are honest and good people, and um, you know building infrastructure around that, I think, is really important. Getting people to come here and experience the art and the culture that we have, but just to meet Midwesterners, and people, and
Real people.
yeah,
We're not like,
people who don't have an ulterior motive
yeah,
besides hanging out,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. No, it's
That's all I want to do is I just want to hang out.
yeah. Meet real people. That's what we've
Yeah.
got here. So,
Yeah.
okay. So
Real
if
people.
anybody wants to see or hear about your upcoming gigs, or they want to find out more about your music, where do they go?
Yeah, I try and keep everything updated on my personal website, which is usually my solo stuff, but I'll have band stuff there as well, which is just tylerbohinc.com.
Can you spell
Um,
that?
yes, tylerbohinc.com. And my band page, we only have an Instagram right now. It's Cuyahoga Current. So you can
Love
find
it.
us on
I
Instagram.
love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Okay. And if anybody wants to know about SEO services, they're going to contact you, right?
absolutely. Give me a call. On our website, Advent Creative, you can book a call with me right away, or fill out some information. Let us know what you're looking for.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to your next gig. We will be there. My goal is to be, super groupies for you, because I think your music is magnificent. I think anything that lifts the soul like that is just absolutely wonderful. So thank you.
Well,
And
thanks for having
yeah, and I
me, and
appreciate everything you're doing for the business too. You're doing an amazing job. Thanks.
glad to do it.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.